What are you doing? What are you trying to do?
The Joy of Creation is an alternate story about Scott Cawthon, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, and how he becomes hunted by his own terrifying creations. One day, Mike Smith breaks into his house, disguised as a person in need. But his intentions are soon revealed that he brought some friends with him, being hostile evil spirits who only exist through possessing bodies like parasites. As being created by Scott, they intend to possess his and his family's bodies to live on, and Scott has to fight them off to protect himself and his family. Nick Cawthon, the grown-up son of Scott Cawthon, receives a call from a contractor and a landlord called Tobias that his childhood home has been reconstructed and is ready for him to move into. In this alternate and fictional tale of Scott Cawthon's life, his fictional family went through a strange and horrifying series of events which changed their lives forever, destroying their home and, as Nick mentions, one of his children, his childhood. Revisiting the house causes Nick to have his memories pour back suddenly, remembering everything that happened that fateful night, which he starts tailing. 2 years after the successful launch of Five Nights at Freddy's, currently being 2016, a stranger stands in front of Scott's house, whom one of his children, Nick, opens the door for. The segment of the story being told through the perspective of the stranger, he looks at his own hands, acting very confused as if not belonging in his own skin. Soon enough, a generous and kind Scott confronts the stranger with a soft and friendly tone, asking who he is.
Hello? What are you doing in our house? Excuse me, sir, can you tell me your name? Look, man, if you won't talk, I'm calling the police. You can't just barge into someone's house like this. Are you hurt? Do you need any help?
He seems to summon all of his strength and might to speak, as if speaking for the first time ever, introducing himself as Michael, sounding almost identical to Scott, which he dismisses as a strange coincidence.
Michael!
What? My name, it's Michael. I'm Michael. You asked me that before.
Daddy, Michael doesn't sound like you.
With the childhood innocence and ignorance, Nick convinces Scott and the mother, Val, to let Michael stay the night, as it's cold and dark outside, and Michael seems really roughed up, clearly needing a place to rest, specifically seeming as if he was involved in some sort of fire. Something important to keep in mind for later. Scott lets Michael stay in the guest room for the night, being an upstanding person with a heart of gold, something that unfortunately at times backfires and proves to be not such a good idea.
I guess. Can you stand?
I think so, a bit. I just feel a bit dizzy. Yes, dizzy.
Come on, man. Let me help you up.
Things start to take a sinister turn when Nick goes back to bed with a message from Michael being heard from the radio, a very strange place for Michael to be able to communicate with someone.
Hello? Hello? Nick? Hey, little Nicky, it's me, Michael. And hey, don't say anything back to me, okay? There are monsters around that'll hear you if you do. Now, don't be scared, Nick, okay? Listen to me, and we can defeat those monsters, all right? Okay, so these monsters might look, surreal. Don't look at them too long, or you'll feel weird and see creepy things. When you do, turn on your desk lamp next to your bed. You'll feel safe there. The more you stare at the scary monsters, the worse you'll feel, all right?
He explains with his arrival to the house, other monsters entered the place as well, being animatronics possessed by evil spirits. He instructs Nick how to survive against these monstrous beings, being Ignited Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, who are soon to break into Nick's room and intend to kill him or possess him. Time seems to get warped, passing in different speeds, with hours seeming to pass much faster or slower, even as if 1 1 hour takes days, and there being time loops, trapping Scott and others. Nick managing to survive till 6 a.m. in the morning, while in reality only a few minutes passing. Scott goes to check on him and his siblings to ensure all are okay. Being worried, letting a stranger in the house with his kids being at home, not knowing exactly what Nick just went through. As soon as Scott leaves the living room, Val seems to get trapped in a pocket time loop as well, with Michael suddenly speaking live on the radio, apologizing for bringing those animatronics and instructing her how to survive. He explains that although she has to survive till 6 a.m., time passes differently and faster, confirming that some sort of time warp in a distorted dimension allows for this. Michael also reveals he knows Scott and his family, despite never having met them before. Clear that his accidental intrusion was planned all along. Lucky for Val, Scott's wife, the animatronics are obligated to turn on their cameras when they approach the living room, helping her to figure out which way they come in to stay out of sight. After surviving this horrifying encounter till 6 a.m., a newspaper snippet displays how there has been reports of paranormal sightings in the nearby forest, very clearly depicting that the animatronics are possessed by these evil spirits targeting Scott. Is it possible that what Scott created came into life and started hunting surrounding environments? Despite Scott going to check on Nick, Sam, and Anthony, his children, he never manages to get to them, and only Val manages to find Nick, screaming in his bedroom, being pale as a ghost, muttering and unable to form a sentence due to the horror that he just experienced. On the other hand, Scott teleports into an eldritch surreal dimension, a twisted and warped replicate of his own house, being chased by a monstrous amalgamation of his own creations, Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie, known simply as Creation.
Nick? Nick! What is happening? This isn't real. This isn't real. I'm just dreaming. None of this is real. Ah! God. Freddy? Freddy? What are you doing? What are you afraid now? Oh God! No. What is this? Help! Somebody help! Mel! Nick! Anthony! Sam! Where are you?
Running away from this nightmare-inducing entity, Scott reaches his office, finding a note from his children that they are hiding, somewhere that he told them specifically to hide. A very strange note to be found by the children, clearly showing that something is not right, and this might be very likely a trap.
For the monster slayer. The monsters are around the house. Here's your trusty flashlight to slay them with. We hide from the monsters. They were weak to Bonnie. So we hid where you always tell us to hide. Much love, Nick, Sam, and Anthony.
Trapping himself in his office, knowing full well about his creations, the animatronics, he explains as if days have passed, with time not passing normally, with all the clocks having stopped and time going very slowly, with no sign of the sun ever rising. Scott believes the key to stopping this time warp is through targeting Freddy, as he seems to be the cause of it all, with his only weapon against him being a mere flashlight. Not knowing how any of this is possible, yet realizing the office is the safest place, he devises a plan to confront Freddy and put an end to this nightmare, mostly thinking about the safety of his family, being a very good family man. During his battle against the animatronics, it becomes clear they are far from what he anticipated. As they break one of the cameras, even surprising Scott that none of them has ever done something like that before, depicting they are not simply malfunctioning, but instead have sentient or intelligent beings controlling them. He manages to fend himself against the animatronics and break the time warp. In this alternate reality, Scott cancels the release of the 5th installment in the series, despite being so popular by the fans, possibly due to the terrifying encounters that he had with his own creations. But a lot more on this later on. Scott continues to look for his children in the basement where he told them to hide. As he notices a monitor, he confronts his own creations to who they are when Michael sucker punches him and knocks him unconscious, saying that they are his creations. So it's very clear that the note was written by these entities and not the children, clearly being a trap. This makes sense to why Michael sounded very similar to Scott, as he is his own creation, essentially being part of him, with Scott giving him his form and shape. Soon after Scott awakens, he finds himself in another warped version of his basement. A number of monitors communicate directly with Scott that his existence was entirely for letting the spirits of these animatronics out, letting them live on in this world. As they don't seem to have any physical presence in the world, it seems they want to possess Sam, Anthony, Nick, Val, and Scott through breaking their minds by appearing as if they can actually harm them so they can live through their bodies. The spirits warn Scott if he doesn't let them out, he alongside his family will all burn, just like the animatronics did. They explain these malevolent spirits separated from the animatronic bodies when they were burned, now looking for permanent and more practical bodies to exist in this world. They are what Scott created. His detailed and meticulous writing of what these entities are gave birth to them, becoming these hostile entities. They were created from the joy of creation. However, their nature is to be hostile. Therefore, they burn and destroy anything else that remains. And now, they want to live on. That's when Scott gets hunted by some endos, or otherwise known as endoskeletons. Clear, these spirits want to mentally break down Scott so they can possess him and have real presence. After managing to evade these entities, a newspaper clipping reveals how since antiquity, people have reported of an evil doppelganger that has been trying to completely mimic them and slowly take over their existence and presence. So these entities, alongside the person who introduced himself as Michael, seem to be these entities wanting to take over Scott and his family, steal their bodies and live their lives, as otherwise they would burn anything and everything in retaliation. That's why Michael sounded similar to Scott, and that's why he targeted him, in order to steal his body. Soon after, Scott finds himself tied and restrained to a chair, where Michael explains everything and that none of this is personal. They simply want to live on, hence why they have to do what they do.
You've prolonged this for too long, Scott. They're barely holding themselves together anymore.
Why? I have been a good man. We've been good people. Why have you demons come to torture me and my family?
I was saying, that we've gone...
Stop ignoring my questions! If I'm going to die, at least I want to know why! Can you at least give me that?
Look, I'm sorry. It's just the way things have to go. It's just a part of life. For us, I mean. Their bodies are hardly keeping themselves together, so they've gathered themselves in the basement. They can't just, kill you directly, you know, and I promised them I'd leave you to them. So I brought you here to, at least try to talk to you before they arrive. So before they get here and everything burns, I'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to see the world through the eyes of your creations. Being Michael Schmidt has been an incredible experience. I mean, I feel fantastic. I want to keep feeling like this forever. And to do that, I need you to die.
Michael alongside the animatronics are simply these spirits who possess bodies, and the scenario the fictional character Scott created, which gave these spirits a golden opportunity to possess them. However, after burning, these bodies became unstable, and that's why they want to move into different hosts. Essentially, it seems as if all the spirits want to move into Scott's body collectively. That's at least what Michael promised the other spirits, that he will provide Scott's body to them, instructing and helping his family of how to escape and overcome them. But these evil spirits having only one thing on mind, their own selfish desires of existence. They don't care whose life they will take, and that's why they attacked the children and Val either way. For Michael, who seems to be the leader of these spirits, maybe due to being able to talk, he specifically targets Scott and wants his body. Scott manages to battle the animatronics for one last time in the attic while his house goes up into flames, being forced to stay to repel the spirits, inhaling large amounts of fume, slowly losing his life. All he can think about are his children and wife, and if they are okay, as Scott was teleported into a complete different dimension, not being able to see them. While struggling to breathe and crawling, the only thing that he can think about is his family, begging Michael, who reveals to be none other than his own creation, Mike Schmidt, who allowed an evil spirit to possess it, to allow his family go if he is going to cooperate with him to die and let him take his body. Mike doesn't say anything and simply overtakes his body in what I only can imagine to be one of the most excruciating pains ever, evident from the heart-wrenching scream that Scott lets out.
Beck, where are you?
You really love your family, don't you? You can die here, you know. Survive the night, just wait for 6 a.m. and it will all be over. That's how it worked there before, right? But these are not your things. This night won't go away until you've been consumed by fire.
What about them? If I have to go, then you please promise me they'll be safe. Promise me you won't harm them. Please.
Towards the end, while the house goes up fully in flames, it shows the children are with Val, standing outside the house in safety, hoping Scott makes it out alive. Surprisingly, Scott comes out joining his family, being very robotic and strange, avoiding details of what actually happened, saying that everyone is safe and that's all that matters repeatedly, terrifying the family who beg him to stop when they all suddenly go silent. Scott, who is without a doubt possessed by Mike Schmidt now, speaks in a malicious tone targeted to Scott that his family would be safe as he promised, with them whether becoming possessed or not being unclear. Later in a newspaper article, the contractor or the landlord Tobias, who called a grown-up Nick to go back to his childhood house, finds him being dead, reporting it to the authorities. So effectively, it shows that they were never truly safe, as being 5 spirits in one single body can get very claustrophobic, especially for rebellious, evil spirits who targeted the children since the beginning, as honor and promise is not part of their motto. It's no surprise why the entire franchise of Five Nights at Freddy's comes to a sudden halt after this incident, as Michael takes over Scott's body and doesn't necessarily show any enthusiasm of continuing his work, giving existence to more competing evil spirits, and it simply wouldn't make much sense for them to continue, as their entire purpose was to come to life and exist.